Welcome to the Broker Collective podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Malone, president of HRO Resources and the Broker Collective. Today, we're going to be talking with Will Shaw, former NFL tight end and now CEO of Better Agency. Will, we're really looking forward to learning about the technology that you guys bring to the insurance space. Do you mind going ahead and giving us maybe just a quick introduction of yourself and give us an overview of Better Agency and the different solutions that you guys bring to the insurance space?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. As you mentioned, I'm the CEO of Better Agency. That's kind of my quote unquote day job, I like to call it now. We provide a CRM and agency management system for independent P&C brokerages, and been doing that for a few years now. And prior to that, I've been in the tech space now for the better part of almost 10 years, and that was kind of where I fell into after my time playing football.
That's awesome. No, man, thanks for sharing. I appreciate it. Man, 10 years. Yeah, time certainly flies for sure. I'm sure that feels the same on your end. Does it feel like it's been that long since you've been out of the league?
No, there are parts of it that make me feel a little bit older, and there are parts that make me feel pretty young. I think the part that makes me feel old is the last year I played was 2013. The last time I was on a roster was right before the 2014 year, and there's only about 2 guys left on that team that are still with the same team, and there's maybe only a handful of guys that are still playing that I played with. So that part makes me feel like I've been out of football for a very long time. And then there's other aspects that are like, hey, I feel like it's never left. The way I probably watch football is a little bit different when it's on at our house, and I'm breaking down film than I am probably watching a game.
Right. That's awesome. Well, man, that's awesome. Well, it looks like obviously, the path for you has been great. You've landed in a great spot. Really curious just to kind of hear a little bit about, the growth that you guys are having seems, significant for the short, handful of years or so that you guys have been at it now. You can tell us, I guess, a little bit about when it started, but, you guys are putting on huge events. You got an event coming up soon. It'll probably be after this airs live, but Damon John's going to be, I think, your main speaker. Shark Tank and FUBU. That's just incredible. So really interested to hear about the growth that you're having. What do you feel like is driving that growth? Is there one particular thing? Is it a combination of things that you feel like contribute to that?
Yeah, I think there's a multitude of things that contribute to it. At its core, Better Agency has gone through various evolutions and kind of where we've gone and what we've done and where we're continuing to go. And I think the core thesis, the core of who we are hasn't changed. At the end of the day, we started Better Agency to help independent brokers sell more insurance, to sell more premium. It was our thesis that independent brokers were large sales organizations or small sales organizations that were selling carrier products. And it's our thesis that carriers should be focused on supplying an amazing product and supporting agents, and agents should be selling and servicing and growing that product or those product lines that they offer. And so everything at our thesis, everything about our application, what we've done from education to the events that we put onto our actual software is how do we help agencies sell more? And so, how that's led into growth is, I think, for the right insurance agency that's looking at trying to do things a little bit differently, that wants to, leverage technology stack and consolidation of software into one platform, and wants to follow a proven process. It makes a lot of sense that the proof is kind of in the pudding. We have a lot of people that have been customers for, we've been around for a little over 3 years, and we have some people that have been customers that entire time. And so I think that's probably what's been the big focus for us as well. And then that's been the big part of why I think we've been able to experience the growth we have.
So what about, the agencies that are signing up with you guys, that are implementing these solutions? Is your target customer or your best fit customer, are they small agencies, or is this really built to fit small and larger agencies?
Yeah, I think if you were to break down from a data level, our average customer is someone that has about 8 employees. So how that equates to across agencies is a little bit different, right? Is it heavier personal lines, heavier commercial lines, things of that nature? But
Sure.
At the end of the day, our average user is about somewhere around that 7-8 user mark. We have some clients that come on board super successful with 2 or 3 or 4 users, and we have others that are coming on with 50 to 100. We see it across the board. I tend to think that our best fit customers are somebody that has at least 3 employees. So you have more than one producer. Maybe the agency owner is still producing, but you have at least another full-time producer, if not a second person on top of that, and maybe a full-time CSR. I tend to think that's like the threshold on the smaller end, and on the larger end, it really just depends more on how you operate. Are you heavy commercial? Are you mid-market commercial, small market commercial? Small market commercials where we fit a little bit better. And again, how are you operating things? Are you heavy accounting based? Are you more direct bill? Things of that nature. So we've seen, again, we have some users upwards of 100 agents per location at a single agency, but I think we tend to fit somewhere around that 8 is a good average. Maybe on the lower end 4 or 5, and on the higher end 15 to 20, I think is a sweet spot for us that we tend to see more
super similar. I think we're along those same lines. I think our average, when you think about the agencies that we partner with, I think our best partners seem to fall in that probably 3 to 15 producer range. And across our partners, I think we've got about 52 insurance agency partners across the nation right now. And I think we're, the average, I think, runs about four producers when you look at an average. But no, I think definitely a lot of similarities there. I mean, when you kind of think back just about, the journey so far, obviously this is turning into, a super successful platform for you guys. Is there a defining moment that you can think of, like maybe just a particular moment in time when you realize, like, man, we have something here, like this is something big?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not sure that we've had that while we have launched what people know now as Better Agency. I think when I realized that there was something here was, my journey was in the tech space, kind of coming from the HubSpots and the Salesforces of the world, and was in a lot of different industries, and then spent some time in the insurance space. And what I realized then was, hey, we're seeing agencies come in that, we're 2 to 3 people all the way up to 2 to 300 people. And what we realized were, whether it was a 2 to 3 person agency or 2 to 300 person agency, they were still trying to accomplish the same tasks. It was the same workflows, the same processes, very similar integrations. And what I realized is, as much as we were solving those problems using the different technology, we were creating new ones with multi-system chaos, dual data entry, multiple points of failure. And so that's when I decided, okay, let's step away from this. I'm going to create the software for independent insurance agencies. And that's what we started doing. I think when I realized we were onto something is I got on stage at a small event in front of about 20 insurance agencies and pitched this idea off like a 4-page PDF and said, who's willing to literally spend money on this as we're getting this off the ground? Because we were bootstrapped at the time. And, we had, I think, 10 or 11 agencies say, yeah, like I'll give you credit card information. And we want this, whatever this is.
That's awesome.
And that's when I knew we were onto something. We didn't charge them for like 4 or 5 months, obviously, for PDF, but it was like, we just wanted to know, like, are we on the right path here of like solving a real problem?
That's awesome. And so as it stands today, what are kind of those core solutions that Better Agency offers to insurance agents?
Yeah, what we commonly see is, there's the solution side. I think it all comes down to consolidation of technology. I think that's the big thing, is having your CRM, your agency management system, your rating tool all in one system. So you can take somebody from lead through sales, through service, through retention, through cross-sell, through just client communication all in one place. I think that's the thing we commonly hear. But when you break that down in a solution, why people are signing up. On average, somebody increases their sales conversion on the front end by about 12%. So that's a big deal. Average, independent agents have the highest renewal percentages in the industry, but our average client increases their renewal conversion by about 7%. And that's a big lift just to their bottom line in year one.
That's huge. That's not surprising to hear that too, just in terms of, the retention with those smaller agencies. They're the ones giving, I think, that above and beyond service.
Yeah.
And so when you can kind of pair that with the technologies and resources to support that agency and allow them the time and efficiencies to go even more, I think, above and beyond when it comes to giving that quality service. So, I mean, there's no surprise in that data.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting too, because you probably see this like outside of the insurance industry, things that we talk about, even in the software space, is recurring revenue. What's your annual recurring revenue? What's your average revenue per account? What's your churn rate? What's your gross revenue churn? What's your LTV to CAC ratio, right? What's the lifetime value of your customer considered to your customer acquisition cost? And what we don't see a lot in the insurance industry is agents talking about a lot of those metrics, even though insurance agencies operate really not that far different from a SaaS company or any kind of reoccurring model type of business. And so when we are able to look at that data and say, hey, this is your real retention ratio, or hey, here's your most profitable clients, like this is where you want to be spending more time. We can start sifting through that data. We can start popping up cross-sell opportunities, things like that. It's start to get pretty powerful.
And it's so, I think, I mean, you nailed it, man. I see the same thing. I mean, I think it's so important for these agency owners to be able to understand what they can actually do when they have this type of data available, when they have this type of information. I mean, it's so powerful, you know, to be tracking that, to be paying attention to those metrics, and to be able to understand how they can leverage that to grow and scale better. That's really powerful. And you really, you know, you don't see a lot. I think I've seen, you know, some other conversations, maybe you on some previous podcast, even talking about kind of the average age of the insurance, you know, agency owner. You know, historically, you know, the age was increasing, and now you're starting to see, I think, some younger people come back into that space. But just to kind of be able to, you know, understand how to leverage not just that experience, but now start bringing technology into the fold, and to learn how to really use it to leverage growth is a special thing. You know, just kind of curious, you know, for us, a lot of what we do with our own company is around, you know, just trying to really simplify the process. Like, we want things to be super easy when a prospect comes to us. We want them to have a great experience, and you know, a really simple process to go through, you know, with our team, from the point they engage with us to the point they become a client. Would really love to hear about that with Better Agency. When you guys have, you know, a prospect opportunity, a new agency that's interested, I guess tell us a little bit about the process of how you help that agency owner evaluate their needs and then plug in the right solution.
Yeah, I think where we all start is like, you know, kind of, you know, what's your biggest problem? Like, why are we having this conversation, right? Like, what like drove you to have this meeting? And sometimes it's not, you know, an obvious problem, and we really work through that. I think we try to really get down to, like, you know, let's have a real conversation. Like, where do you feel like your biggest issue is in your business? Like, where do you feel like you're struggling? If you're not, then our genuine recommendation is probably don't change anything, right? Like, if that's what you're doing, or if you're like, hey, it's not necessarily a problem, but I'm not going to where I want to go. Well, then that's a different kind of problem, right? Like, let's talk through that, and figure that out. But, you know, the journey for us is figuring out, like, where are your problems, and does it align with the solutions that we're really good at? You know, we recognize that we are a new player in the larger agency management space. We're not a fit for every agency. And, you know, if your problem is like, yeah, we're not really efficient with back-end accounting operations and agency bill, it's like, okay, we can't help you with that. Like, that's a real problem, and we want to help solve you with that. Here's some recommendations we may have, but it's definitely not going to be our software, right? Like, that maybe someday down the road, but that's not the core problem that we're solving with. But if you're, you know, behind on your revenue goals because you're looking to, like, put your agency up for sale at some point, or hey, I'm a smaller agency and I want to stop working 70 hours a week because I want to spend more time with my family. Right. Or hey, we now have 4 producers and we have performance all over the place, and we're not good at tracking it, and we have no idea what our conversions are, or we're not maximizing our renewals or cross-sell opportunities. Then that's something that we can lean into and say, okay, let's have a further conversation of where Better Agency could actually help in those areas. And is this an add-on to what you're currently doing, or is this a replacement to what you're doing in terms of other softwares you're using, things like that? And then we really start mapping out your ideal process, what that looks like, making sure that that fits in Better Agency. And then that transitions into, you know, usually a we like to say that, hey, you could have Better Agency up and running and doing something within 25 minutes. And we have people that do that, but we generally have a client success manager that's working with them on a weekly basis for the first 30 to 45 days to help smooth over that transition period.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was going to ask that, just kind of what that process looked like when they do decide to get set up and they do want to move forward, kind of what the time frame of that prospect looked like, or process looks like. You've mentioned a few times just kind of about being a little bit of a newer player in the space, and again, it's incredible what I think you guys have done in such a short period. Thinking about approaching things from a competitive place and being in such, I think, a competitive landscape. Is there one big thing, if you had to say, man, this is, this is what I'm going to hang my hat on in terms of, this is what makes Better Agency the best? Is there one thing you think that really just separates you guys from the rest of the competition that you're most proud about?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the client journey, and it's being able to take, to basically take our insurance agency clients from that lead, taking them through the optimal sales process, taking them through that client welcome experience, and basically being able to nurture that client, not just in that one-time sales event, but throughout their journey for the lifetime of that customer, so that we're maximizing their experience. So we're getting things like reviews, we're getting things like referrals, we're getting things like renewals and upsells and cross-sells, and it becomes an exponential growth, both on your client side because of your retention and your cross-selling, but also on your lost prospect side because of nurturing and long-term nurture and bringing up those leads that maybe you lost on previously. And so that's the thing I'm most proud of, is how it can exponentially help you grow and be that incremental increase that you're going to need. It's easy to grow when you're really, really small, right? Like, it's easy to grow a business when you're $100,000 in revenue. You're like, hey, I want to grow by, even 100% and go to $200,000.
Exactly.
Shouldn't say that it's easy, but it's, hey, there's a, you start running the law of large numbers when you're like, hey, I'm a $6 million agency, $6 million in revenue, and I'm trying to grow by 10%. I've got to add $600,000 in revenue.
Big number.
And hey, maybe my retention's really good. It's at 95%, which means I'm already going to drop off 5%. So I'm going to really get to like $650,000 in revenue this year. And how do you do that without, in an efficient manner? And it's being able to say, hey, we're not going to get all of that in one swoop. We're going to get that through increasing our retention by 0.25%. We're going to get that by, increasing our cross-sell rate by another percent. We're going to get that by increasing our sales efficiency. We're going to get that by by converting on some of these lost leads we've had over the last couple of years, because we've been in front of them constantly for the last couple of years. Now all of a sudden that 650 number is all the way shrunken down to maybe 325,000, and that's a realistic number.
That's awesome. And it's so cool too, because I think there's so many agencies out there. We partner with a lot of them that don't have this type of solution in place, and so they don't even have an efficient or sophisticated way to be able to track this type of data, to understand how to use it to their advantage, so they can better hit those numbers and better achieve those goals, quicker and more efficiently. And so it's just, I think, I appreciate everything that you've shared so far. Just about, I think it just kind of really paints a picture for how powerful this can be in terms of capturing the data, leveraging those metrics, and using that to really grow and scale an agency faster, which is, I think, what we're all here to do, is help our agency partners do exactly that: grow and scale faster, maximize their revenues, and have better retention and happier clients. One more question I had that, might be the most important question of the day, Will, is, just really curious to hear about your time in the NFL, your time as an athlete. How do you feel that has really contributed to making you, even better in business and more successful, in your path to Better Agency?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think there's two things specifically that maybe stand out to me, at least from my experience, and trying to be, have a decent level of perspective here. And one thing I always try to say is, like, I know nothing. I try to be in that humble state of constantly learning. And the one thing I've learned is football really taught me how to work within a team. One of the things they don't teach you or tell you about when you start a business, it's easy to have culture and work within people when you're, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, when start getting into 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 people, it's like, how do you properly manage and work with and grow a team and grow the right culture? And I think one of the things that football gave me was that perspective of, hey, how do you take, let's say somebody that's like a trust fund kid from Vermont and somebody that's maybe from like the hood of Miami, and say, we have different life experiences growing up, but we're going to view this journey together the same way, and we can get aligned on that, and we find common ground, and maybe we have different experiences in how we look at the world, but we can find alignment in this, and bring people together that way, I think has really served me well. And I think the other thing is just in business, no matter what, like somebody once told me, it's like you've got to figure out how to like slay the dragon. Like every time you're in business, there's like a dragon, there's a big thing that's trying to take you down constantly, and you could just continue to be a dragon slayer and slay that dragon. And I think football taught me is like, no matter what, you keep going, you keep like whatever that obstacle is, you got to overcome it. No matter what it is, you just keep fighting down an obstacle. And I think football really set me up well for that. I wasn't a highly recruited kid. I was a 0-star recruit out of high school, went to junior college, went to one of the smaller Division I schools out there in Youngstown State, undrafted, and made a roster, you know what I mean? And beat out the kids that were 5-star recruits, went to the big time D1 schools. And I think that served me really well in business.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. You look back and it's those adversities, along the journey that I think really helped develop us. I mean, I was an athlete really my entire life as well. Still, spend a lot of time on the golf course, I think, as you probably do.
Yeah. I've tried to. That's like my competitor out like my release for competition at this point is golf.
Right. Exactly. You got to have it, man. I think once it's in you, I don't think it ever leaves, but it really is. I mean, I obviously not at the same level, professionally as you experienced it, but, similar, in relating it to the business world, just the journey, the team environment, that you spend so much time in, and just overcoming a lot of adversity, man. There's so many obstacles and things to overcome, and doing that as a team. And like you said, I think I haven't heard that perspective before, from some other folks that have, kind of been in the NFL or been in similar places. But I think it's really kind of cool to hear your thoughts just about the importance of being able to come together and work efficiently as a team with people with wildly different backgrounds in some cases, but all working towards that common goal and unified and working together to accomplish a task and be successful. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. I think this has been a good conversation, and just really excited to continue to follow your growth, and excited about partnering up with you guys, hopefully some more in the future as well, and this kind of sharing in each other's success. But man, I appreciate you joining today's episode of the Broker Collective podcast. Really enjoyed it. I appreciate you taking the time. And if you guys enjoyed the podcast today, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And also, as always, you can find us on brokercollective.xyz. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next episode.